I think that there's a good case for them to throw out at least part of this judgment and then also appeal it continually. And so, but the jury, yeah, these are not technical people. There was one technical person on it, the foreman of the jury, but most of them were not. The other thing is it's very difficult, I think, for Koreans, in all honesty, to get a fair and full hearing in Northern California,
where the Silicon Valley is located.
Exactly. I mean, the birthplace.
It's the birthplace of Steve Jobs.
Yeah, to try to find 9 impartial people that aren't somehow affected is very difficult to do, and I think it's highly prejudicial. And part of it, too, when I was reading about the trial was, you know, some of it was done in Korean and then they translated it. And I think it just didn't give a very good image for jury members who don't speak Korean, you know, even though it was translated. I think it's very difficult for Samsung to win in the home court or the home field of Apple. It's very, very difficult.
What do you think of the sensitive issue of loyalty of the locals in Northern California, which is the birthplace of much of Steve Jobs' brainchild?
Yeah, I think as Edward mentioned, you know, they're very, how to say, strong reaction, and I think that could also be a kind of influence on this kind of hearing and the final judgment.
The other thing is very technical, I'm afraid, but you have to face this thorny issue. iPhones and Apple's iPhones and iPad employ a largely self-sufficient system. It means it rejects the possibility of downloading freely any other alternative softwares for online games, for example. Therefore, the younger generation here in China would prefer to use Android. Android is much more open to downloading softwares for online games. What you said earlier makes sense, saying you know, this legal defeat for Samsung may have affected the process of having more choices, right? And do you think this loss for Samsung may have denied young people easy access to other alternatives and choices?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is why a lot of people really are fans of Samsung, because you got a lot of freedom. I think iPhone, it was not just like a word as innovator. I think it's also using this special status to reinforce its own status.
Excuse me, this is a very sensitive point. Are you saying that the iPhone is also drawing inspirations from Sony? This is one of the points that the Samsung raised in the court.
Well, I'm just saying from the consumer's perspective, right? Like, okay, it's a fun product to use, but in the same